And
who's going to win in Paris?
Exactly. Well, Gaviria is still there, John Degenkolb still in there, and Peter Sagan. So, but you know, obviously it kind of opens it up to other people who've potentially got a sprint tomorrow as well, which I think at this rate of knots it will be possibly a great stage for the breakaway. But yeah, we want short stages, but with the short stages it's very difficult for the sprinters, especially the hilly ones.
You mentioned Peter Sagan there. Just one point, we might not see him again on today's stage because he has been dropped, but he was wearing a black armband at the start of the day, and that's in tribute to the former boss of the Liquigas team, the man who founded the team, Paolo Zani, who very sadly passed away yesterday. So big respect to Peter Sagan for remembering his first boss in the world of cycling. "5,000 metres of climbing on the menu on stage 12 of the Tour de France. This is Pierre Latour, who's in the third group at the moment. It's the first and second groups that are causing most problems for Team Sky, who have the yellow jersey with Geraint Thomas. If you haven't been following the stage so far today, there were 161 riders who started. No Rigoberto ran at the start, and we've had multiple abandons since then, most notably sprinters Andre Greipel and Dylan Groenewegen. 5 minutes and 29 for Steven Kruijswijk, who is the virtual leader of the race, but he's followed just a few seconds later by the likes of Valverde, Maika and other riders who could be challenging and are certainly putting pressure on Team Sky, who are at the front now with 6 riders still remaining. It's still Wout Poels who's in that group. They've lost who they lost, well, Luke Rowe and Gianni Moscon. This is Jonathan Castroviejo, but I can tell you that Wout Poels is still in this group.
Is he?
Second wheel.
Yes, just in there. And looking at it, they've, instead of using one rider here, they have to use 2 at the same time. So Castroviejo and Wout Poels been drawn into it. So obviously we want to see a race, and we're starting to see the race unfold now because of this man here. He decided that he really wanted to push on, which very early. Well, it'll be interesting to see what his team are going to say to him now.
What would you say to him?
I would say wait up for the group behind. They're talking about it now. It's still...
We're talking 50 seconds.
But I think he's committed now. If it's 50 seconds now and he's riding away from them, that's the difficulty he's got. Okay, he's got a car behind him to give him what he needs, but this is a big call by Lotto NL Jumbo to keep the pressure on, because the thing is, when you get to the top of this climb, although we get down the other side, they call the Glandon, 29 kilometres, then 14 kilometres on the flats. If you use up a lot of energy, it's the 14 kilometres in the flats along towards the bottom of the Alpe d'Huez. That's what does the damage. If you use a lot of energy there and you come to the Alpe, you will lose a lot of time. So I don't think it's kind of panic stations for Team Sky for the moment, but they do have to use some of the riders sooner rather than later now.
We're talking 1 minute and 9 now, an updated time gap to those behind. 5:29 to the yellow jersey group as a gel is slammed down the throat of Steven Kruijswijk. Continues to increase his gap. He's got 11.6 kilometres of this climb to go. And we talked about the average. 5.6%, I think it is, over 29 kilometres. There's a little section of descent in the middle there, and of course we know it's a long climb, and that's difficult in itself, but the gradient, the average gradient, really is misleading, isn't it, because of those little descents in the middle of it?
Yeah, that's the case. When you're going up this climb here, it's about anywhere between 6 and 9%, but because they take into consideration the small descents and kind of false flats, it's a difficult climb. It's been used many times in the Tour de France. Steven Kruijswijk has decided that he feels good today. He's not going to wait for anybody else, and this is his time. But I still think there's a long way to go, and if he's putting out this energy now, he's going to suffer later on when we get to the Alpe.
31 years of age, Steven Kruijswijk. Debut as a pro 12 seasons ago. Just 2 wins in his professional career, despite the fact that he's been up there in many races in the general classification. Today would be an exploit to put him down in history if you could carry this off. No Dutch winner, despite their history here, for 29 years. Oh, did you hear that? Oh, nobody was offended by the language that you might have been able to take on there. He gets a telling off back from his sports director. Lawson Craddock were watching. I think he was unhappy with the gel or the food he got. Slammed it on the floor. Not the sort of reaction that you want to see, but I think we'll cut Lawson Craddock a bit more slack than normal, because he is riding with a broken shoulder for what is this, the 12th day in succession.
I'd maybe disagree. He don't show that disregards for officials and, you know, the fellow people within a bike race. Look at that. Okay, it's heat of the moment stuff, and he is suffering a little bit, but yeah, you've got to rise above it at the time.
Well, again, if you heard anything on the effects microphones there, apologies for that. Here's his teammate up the road. In fact, he has two teammates. Former winner, Pierre Rolland there. The man just passed on your screen in the pink jersey. They're at 1 minute and 19 as Kruijswijk continues to extend his gap.
It's this man here, Latour. He's just past Gorka Izagiri, who was dropped. So this is another rider that he's trying hard, and I can only think if you're really pushing out some watts now, that you're really going to pay for it when we get to Alpe d'Huez.
Or would you not go back to the car and save it back to the peloton, pardon me, and save it for Romain Bardet later on?
I was thinking that, but he's in the white jersey. He'll probably try. His job is possibly trying to go forwards into that group of 9 that are chasing this man here, Steven Kruijswijk, but it's a big effort if he wants to try and get up there.
He'd have to make 2 minutes of time up on them, and I can tell you today that with Tony Galopin abandoning, they're down now to just 5 riders, including their leader Romain Bardet, as you desire Mondial. Nice to see Danny Martinez in this group. EF Drapac, disappointing news at the start of the day with Rigoberto Urán dropping out. I can tell you that there has never been a Colombian winner on this mountain, and I think it'd be about time, wouldn't it, because of certainly the Colombians' history in climbing. 29 winners. Will the 30th be from South America? Let's see as Paul's pedals on. Welcome back to the Alps, everybody. We've been treated some absolutely stunning scenery in the last couple of days. I think yesterday might have been one of the best televisual spectacles I've ever seen on a bike race.
Yeah, visually, very beautiful. And today, likewise, but
I've been mass tourism, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been here quite a lot of times. You know, Alpe d'Huez is maybe not the prettiest of resorts, but La Rosière, yeah, was absolutely stunning.
Well, I woke up to a stream of people walking past the hotel window today. And this was about 7:30 in the morning. If you've never been before, Alpe d'Huez is a kind of mass tourism ski resort, packed with bars and hotels. 32,500 rooms here as we look at Les Aiguilles d'Arve. A bit more cloudy up there, but 32,500 rooms are still not enough for everybody who needs to be up here. Camping cars all over the place. Apparently there was a record number of them when we were here last time. 800,000 people attended the last stage 3 years ago. That was the rough estimate from the local tourist board, so they might have added a number or two on there. I'm sure they'll be trying to make themselves look a little better, but it is really impressive. Camping cars everywhere, people pitching tents on the side of the road as well. It's a bit like Benidorm on the side of a mountain, or as the magician who works for us, our editor Dave Jackson, said, being at Alpe d'Huez is rather like being at Glastonbury stuck on the side of a mountain. I think you experienced some of that driving up, because you arrived a little later than us last night, and I think the party was in full swing when you got here.
Well, I've never been to Glastonbury, but you know, I'm not kind of festival goer myself. But you know, I've done a bit of camping. Yeah, we arrived pretty much. We hit the Alp about just before 11 o'clock last night after the transfer, long transfer. And Didi the Devil was out. There was a woman in the middle of the road with a flare. The gendarmes were just standing there with their arms crossed. She had the flare. There was party music. They were dancing. You know, they were having a real party at the bottom. And that's where a lot of the campers were. A lot of people were in their tents, and you know, they come out, they want to enjoy the atmosphere. I did notice, especially in the first 5 kilometres, and I think they've tried to stop this, but I can remember were coming here before, even in 2015, that all the way up the climb there was campers, and they've stopped them. Maybe it's because of the evacuation, I'm not too sure, and to keep the road clear. Certainly when we came up last night and up this morning, the last 4 kilometres, there was absolutely no cars allowed on it because of the amount of riders riding their bikes.
The last time that Steven Kruijswijk won a bike race was the Arctic Race of Norway in 2014. He's 31 now, as we saw just a few moments ago. He still has 6.4 kilometres to the top of this Col de la Croix de Fer. He's been looking mightily strong, and he's almost 6 minutes now ahead of Geraint Thomas, the yellow jersey. 60 kilometres to go. The only doubt here is he's all on his own. How much energy is he expending? But again, if the stage were to finish now, he'd lead by 4 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, 2:40, so just be over 3 minutes advantage, which is good. But like you said, there's a long way to go. When you consider Will Poles is at the front of the peloton, and he was struggling in the first climb of the day, the the Madeleine. It's no surprise that he's extending his leads. It's Sky want to get as many numbers over the top of this climb as possible. They want to use up their domestics, and they're using up Will Poles and Castroviejo now. So that'll continue over because they want to have as many riders when we come down to Glandon, and the flat road, the long flat sections of roads back in towards Bordeaux before we hit the Alpe d'Huez. So, but I can see the way this is going. It could go like yesterday, man against man in the final kilometres of the climb, Geraint and Chris Froome. And if it goes man against man, then it suits a lot of other riders like Bardet, Quintana, maybe Nibali, Roglic. But for sure, it's not an easy day for Team Sky. They still are controlling things. They've done a very good job until now, but a lot of these riders know that they're definitely in a race now.
Maxime Bouet, special mention for him is the Régional de l'Étape, local rider today. Had a little column in the newspaper this morning in the Dauphiné. He's passed by Jonathan Castroviejo, the Spanish time trial champion, on the left-hand side in the Sky Ocean Rescue white jersey and black shorts. Behind him, Wout Poels, and then it was Michal Kwiatkowski. This is Romain Bardet, who only has 4 teammates left now in this race. Up towards the front, there is Vincenzo Nibali, who, Brian, you were talking about. He's with Domenico Pozzovivo. Dan Martin.
Johan Izagirre, I think Pozzovivo was dropped earlier on today, so he's got Gorka Izagirre on his way back. He's got Johan Izagirre beside him, but I think on the Madeleine I saw that Pozzovivo was struggling.
.60 kilometres to go. There's a few riders out the back who might need a little lift.
Looks like Mr. Potato Head.
Any lookalikes in the peloton? Send them in, at Eurosport_UK. Want your best Photoshop jobs. At Rob Hatch TV, at Bryce Smithy, if you want us to have a look at them. This is Steven Kruijswijk. He's ridden 4 stage races this year. He'd only ridden about 30 days before the start of the Tour de France. And do you know what? He was never outside the top 8 in GC in any of the races. All big races, World Tour races. He's gone under the radar a little, but he's obviously going very well here.
Yeah, he's having an exceptional day. Just the Belgian flag getting in the way there. But an exceptional day for Steven Kruijswijk. 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Oh, another abandon, Rob.
And it's Fernando Gaviria. And you said there'd be nobody left to challenge him. Fernando Gaviria abandons his first Tour de France on stage 12. Another sprinter falls. And the Champs-Élysées at the end of this race is looking a very, very open race indeed. Peter Sagan will be looking to hang on for the green jersey. There's no challengers. Wow. 2 minutes 30 now for Steven Kruijswijk ahead of the chasing group. .244 on our GPS estimate here.
Yeah, but you feel for Pierre Latour now, because he's got Guillaume Martin only just over 2 minutes behind him. Bernal is just over 7 minutes behind him in the Young Jersey competition, and he's trying hard on his own, using a bit of energy, and still a long way to go in this race. If he wants to win that white jersey, I would think that his team have to kind of call him back into the group behind the main peloton.
Thanks to Bruno Bies for tweeting in. I've got a corrections corner mistake here. I said before that no Colombian had ever won an Alpe d'Huez. Luis Herrera won in 1984. Problem is, on my list here in the French paper, he's down as a Dutchman. Almost 3 minutes for Steven Kruijswijk on the group that's on your screen. But the group that's on your screen still has a very healthy lead on the yellow jersey group. We're watching some fascinating bike racing today at the Tour de France. Pierre Latour in the white jersey here, struggling, and he's in no man's land here now, isn't he? Surely, with just 4 teammates left for Romain Bardet, he has to be brought back now.
It's the Tour de France, it's the white jersey. It's a tough call, but in this situation you have to think a long way to go in this race. He's still in the lead of that competition. He isn't, nobody's going to take it off him today, but you just feel he's using a lot of energy to try and stay alone, which is, in my book, I think it's failure.
Failure there too for André Amador, and a failure for Dani Martinez. They've been putting in fantastic efforts today. They've worked very, very hard. And there's Zakharin as well. This is Kruijswijk, pardon me, this is Geesink in front. And where's Alejandro Valverde? Has he gone in search? He has. And he's taken Pierre Rolland and Mikel Nieve with him, as Bauke Mollema again is in trouble. Started the day at 13 minutes and 45. He is not in the condition that we saw him in a couple of years ago.
No, that crash he had in the Roubaix stage done a lot of damage to his back, and he's really struggling. You can see him here now that if he's on the rivets, he's all over his bike, really grimacing, but he just can't give it 100% because of the condition of his back.
Rafael Majka in the green, Warren Barguil in the white, have 5 kilometers to go to the top of the climb. And in the meantime, the leader of the race, Kruijswijk, 4.2 kilometers to the top, as this is Oliver Naassen now with Romain Bardet.
We've got change here.
And they're setting the pace. Movistar are riding. Team Sky are being put under yet more pressure. And this is very interesting indeed. I just wonder if Wout Poels is still there, or if him disappearing, I think he's disappeared. I think Castroviejo's gone. Sky are down to 4, and that is the signal for the rest of the teams to put more pressure on.
Yeah, the vultures have been circling, and still think that Geraint Thomas and Chris Froome are okay, but what you want to do is try and isolate them, and that's what the other teams are trying to do. They've not sat back. They're realising as well that Kruijswijk is a threat, and Valverde still being in front. They don't want Valverde coming back into the fray, so AG2 are taking it up, and Movistar following as well, so we're starting to see some tactics played out in front of us now.
That was Wout Poels there, just dropping back to that Greg van Avermaet group. Remember, Van Avermaet until yesterday was the leader of the Tour de France, and I think we're coming back up to the front group now. So Oliver Naassen, who's putting a brilliant ride in today, is there. Kudos too to the man on the right hand side in the blue, white and brown. That's Matthias Frank, who is suffering. He's crashed multiple times. Yesterday he went off the side of a mountain.
Yeah, and he's still committed to the team. That's the thing. Romain Bardet has still got a big opportunity of trying to win the Tour de France, and they're giving everything for it. This is one of the hardest, longest days of the Tour de France. Got more climbing meters than any other, and that's what they're trying to do. And Movistar are actually helping because they've got 2 riders in front as well.
But are they starting to worry about Kruijswijk as well?
I don't think they're worried too much about Kruijswijk. I think they've seen maybe a bit of weakness in Team Sky with Wout Poels now disappearing. Castroviejo, I think, he hasn't showed great signs. He's been there and thereabouts, so just keep the pressure on, and soon we could be down to Geraint, Froome, Bernal, and obviously Kwiatkowski has been riding out his skin.
Franco Pellizotti, goodbye. One man less for Vincenzo Nibali. He might be 40 now, Franco Pellizotti, but he was one of the main men for Vincenzo Nibali. The other man being dropped in the light blue of Astana there was Michael Valdrin, who's climbing better than he ever's done before. So Frank through the pain barrier in front of Marc Soler and Mikel Landa. They look behind in their yellow helmets. They see Romain Bardet there, and they see 4 riders for Sky. Michał Kwiatkowski, and then in the yellow, the leader, Geraint Thomas. Behind them, Chris Froome and Egan Bernal.
Yes, Castroviejo gone as well. So, because of the pressure put on by AG2R and also Movistar, it means that 2 riders have gone again, so down to 4. So from 8 at the start of today, down to 4. But still, they've done a very good job. Kwiatkowski and Bernal have to be brought into it, which kind of echoes what we're saying earlier on, that it's not easy to win the Tour de France, and it's certainly not going to be easy this year. And Geraint Thomas and Chris Froome will have to work away on the Alpe d'Huez, and they may have to do a bit of work themselves.
Jorge Seguirre goes straight through the back. Oliver Naassen, the former Belgian champion, on the right-hand side with the brown shorts, blue and white top, number 27, did a very good job this deep into the race for a bigger guy, a classic Sky. And now it's Matthias Frank trying to drill things for Romain Bardet. Now, what does he have planned for today? Let's go back to the start, see what he told us.
Well, of course, we're going to go for the stage victory. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm just trying to give my best. This is the biggest race in the world, so I'm going to try and fight until the end and do whatever I can. Do you think it's going to be possible to attack? Will you wait for the breakaway, or are you going to wait for the opportunity to attack? We will wait with how the stage plays its way out. I think a lot of us are very tired, to be honest. Many riders are tired. How are you feeling after 10 days of racing? I'm feeling better every day, to be honest, and I feel better today.
He obviously felt better today, otherwise this would not be happening. Romain Bardet sits in 4th place there. Matthias Frank, his teammate, looks around, little conversation, and he's going to go back onto the wheel. Bardet has just zipped up his jersey. It's Adam Yates at the back with Egan Bernal just in front of him. 168 there is Antoine Tolhoek. 211 struggling to hold the wheel is Guillaume Martin, the young Frenchman who was up there in the Tour de l'Avenir in 2015. Yeah, and Adam Yates again.
Tolhoek's gone, he just opened the gap. What has Adam Yates got left? He's got Castroviejo from Team Sky just in front of him, but he has to close that gap, he has to go with it. But after a very difficult day yesterday, big challenge for Adam today.
From riders swinging at the back to a man who has pedalled at an average of over 20 kilometers per hour since the bottom of this climb. Steven Kruijswijk trying to go over the Col de la Croix de Fer. Remember, it was Thomas de Ghent last year who was first over the summit. He is 2.3 kilometers from the top. And Steven Kruijswijk now, okay, has an advantage of 6 minutes and 5 with a long way still to go. Is it realistic to say that this man could be in the yellow jersey at the end of today, or is it too big an ask?
I don't think he'll be in yellow at the end of the day. He's putting in a great effort. Potentially there's a stage win up for grabs, but I think if Castroviejo can hang on, Team Sky have got still, strength in numbers towards the front. What is interesting me is the way the tactics are unfolding with the AG2R, Movistar, Lotto and El Jumbo. It's been great racing today, and nice to see that the teams have come out instead of following. They've actually raced today. Whether they get the rewards, at this moment in time, I don't really care. I like to see people out there giving it a good go.
Matthias Frank is gone. Romain Bardet sits in third place. Latour's 30 seconds ahead. Are we about to see an attack from Romain Bardet? 56.3 kilometres to go at the front of the race for Kruijswijk. This is Frank, the Swiss star, who's done a great job for Bardet. Bardet has one teammate up the road, about 20 seconds in front, and you wonder if he's planning something. Adam Yates has managed to sit on the back of the group again. That's good news for Mitchelton Scott. In the meantime, in the second group on the road, Mikel Nieve is still there. This is Marc Soler now of Movistar. Winner of the Tour de l'Avenir 2 years ago. Winner of Paris-Nice this year. Mikel Landa, the former Sky rider, former man from Astana and Euskaltel. He has his right elbow bandaged up from a crash on the cobbles, but he seems to be riding well. This man, no question of the fact that he's riding well. This crowd at the top of the Col de la Croix de Fer getting its first sight of bike riders. Now Adam Yates, I'm afraid, is distanced. Adam Yates is distanced. And that is big news for Mitchelton Scott. And if yesterday was the first sign of a problem, today seems to be the confirmation.
Yeah, very difficult in the mountains to recover, especially in the Tour de France, especially with the riders putting the pressure on. It'll be interesting to see what they do over the top, because with Team Sky still having the numbers, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the top of the Croix de Fer, whether they swing over and allow Team Sky to take it up, because I think what they wanted to do is put pressure on Team Sky and try and drop a couple of riders. Will Pauls is gone, Castroviejo still hanging on, so they still have the numbers. So for the moment, Team Sky still okay, although the pressure's on and they'll feel the heat. But nice to see everybody going out there and you know, taking it to Team Sky, and also trying to win the stage as well.
Mitchelton Scott with the man chasing, who's Mikel Nieve. Has he become their GC man now?
I would think so. He's looking strong. Certainly after today, you could see that Adam Yates was on the radio there, just letting, I think Damien Howson was still in the group, letting them know that he'd been distanced. So they'll want to try and keep him there and thereabouts, but yeah, it doesn't look as if Adam's got the form. He's definitely got the form to maybe to look at a stage in the Pyrenees, but unless you know, obviously he completely goes, or he's got an illness or anything like that. But yeah, it's just disappointing to see, because he came here with big ambitions.
Pierre Latour is just ahead of the group on the road now. The road narrows here for Steven Kruijswijk. He is 1 kilometre from the top of the Col de la Croix de Fer, as Tanel Kangen is the latest rider to be distanced. He rides for Astana, the team from Kazakhstan. Kangen, the rider from Estonia, who started the day on 25th position. Latour looks behind. Big moments, these.
Yeah, big effort from Latour, but he's got Bardet behind him, and he's the only AG2R rider that will go over the top of this climb with his leader.
Being chased down by Movistar, who is still 6 minutes and 2 seconds behind Kruijswijk, the sole leader from the Netherlands. This is the second group on the road with Bardet, who at the back is only interested in a stage win. He's well down in the overall GC. He's also looking for the King of the Mountains jersey. Micah's the man at the front now in the green and black for Bora, the German team. Micah, the Polish rider, a former two-time King of the Mountains. And Mikel Nieve, who has won stages at the Vuelta, stages at the Giro. He just needs that Tour de France win to complete what will be an exceptional palmarès for one of the best pure climbers that we've seen in the last decade in professional cycling. He's wearing the black and yellow of Mitchelton Scott, the Australian team. Now look at this. This is what July is all about. Stunning scenery down the mountain, frantic racing on its roads, and a wonderful atmosphere at the Tour de France. This is all that's left now, Brian.
Yep, but you can still see that Team Sky have got 4 riders in the front. Castroviejo clinging on in the coattails at the back of this main group, and that's important. He's obviously got it from his sports director Nicolas Portal to hang on, and he's doing a very good job. Over the top, it'll be interesting to see, as we're just going to mention, that what they're going to do, because they're trying to hurt the riders on this climb. Marcella giving it absolute everything, Landa behind, and Bardet will be on his own. And you can only think if Bardet was to try anything, it's a little bit too late now on this climb. But what the teams are trying to do is try and tire out Team Sky. But I suspect over the top of this climb they may swing over and allow Team Sky to take control yet again.
The big hanger shoulders of Steven Kruijswijk hang on his hoods. In the top of the Qualifier is polka dotted up as he's about to take maximum points in the King of the Mountains competition. But it's a yellow jersey he's looking for, or at least to try and help his teammate further up the classification. He's the man who stands to lead the Tour de France if the stage is to finish. But there are 54.5 kilometres to go and a mighty Alpe d'Huez at the end of this. Col de la Croix de Fer is crowned by Kruijswijk. Some great pickies to be had up there. This is Castroviejo, the rider that Brian was talking about on the back. Fulsang is in front of him. Still there too is Roglic, teammate of Kruijswijk, who's up the road. Jungels, the Luxembourg champion. Nibali is isolated. Dumoulin has a man with him.
Actually, Jungels is riding better, because if you can remember the Colombier, when he was distant by Zakarin and, you know, Maika, he seems to be kind of hanging on a little bit, maybe getting stronger as this race goes along. Obviously he's lost a little bit of time, but still it's Marcella from Landa, then Bardet and Latour, sorry, and then you've got the 4 riders, including the yellow jersey of Geraint Thomas. But more importantly, Castroviejo has managed to stay on this group.
Bob Jungels, the man from Luxembourg you mentioned there, he's 15th in the overall general classification. He stands to move up if he stays with this group for as long as he can, and of course the focus will turn to helping him now, with Gaviria climbing off and going home. Everybody will want to win today on Alpe d'Huez. A roll of honour that is legendary. And this is the group of favourites. They are 6 minutes and 8 seconds behind the leader on the road, who is Steven Kruijswijk. The Dutchman having already gone over the penultimate climb of the day, the all category, the out of category, Col de la Croix de Fer. And here he is, on the descent. We can banish those memories of that crash at the Giro d'Italia. Remember when he crashed into that snow banking in the pink jersey? As Soler's job is done. So Nairo Quintana loses a man. And that was a big ride from Marc Soler. He shed a lot of bodies there.
Yeah, whittled it down, but I think he has to continue on. He has to try and stay with this group, because, okay, he's giving it absolutely everything, but Quintana is in here with Landa. Landa keeping the pressure on. They're looking for advice now. I think they kick it off and allow Marc Soler to come back, because they still need numbers.
Certainly with guys up the road who are 3 minutes ahead of them still as well, because that's the latest time check we had for the Valverde group. This group a little further up the road. Around 30 seconds the last check. We'll get a proper time check at the top here. This is Barguil, who's looking for points for the polka dot jersey. I wonder if Mikel Landa starts to think of that classification as well. He's been a previous King of the Mountains at the Giro d'Italia. He's going to come over third. Second place and big points for Warren Barguil. Maika, the third man over. 3 minutes then from Kruijswijk to that group. And that means that the Valverde group is slowly inching back towards these guys. Inut Zakarin was with him. In the meantime, there's Geraint Thomas and Chris Froome wearing number 1. The 4-time defending champion of the Tour de France. And the holder of each and every one of the Grand Tour titles as it stands. And we're hearing that they're continuing to lose time. 6:11 now to Kruijswijk. Amador has just rejoined that group. Takes over the pace setting. Steven Kruijswijk is left to pedal this descent. It's a long old descent, Brian, a couple of lips in it as well. And then the little section in the valley at the bottom.
Yeah, you come down here, it's quite fast, this section, along by the reservoir, and then it dips down again, and you've got a slight uphill section which is tough. It's, I reckon it's maybe 9 or maybe almost 10%. It kicks up a little bit. Then there's a long downhill section, fast, until we hit another dam, down the dam wall, along the valley, and then into Bois-d'Oisans. So still a long way to go, and I would suspect with Team Sky still having numbers, they'll drive it into the bottom of Alpe d'Huez and try and bring some time back in Kruijswijk, who's ridden tremendously well today. But unfortunately, you know, he's on his own, nowhere to hide, and you know how much he's got left in the tank.
Last Dutch winner on Alpe d'Huez, the Dutch mountain, 1989. Turnisse. After that, in the 90s, it was very much an Italian mountain. Likes of Pantani winning twice. He still holds the climbing record, by the way. 1995, 36 minutes, 40 seconds. Though some of us, I'm sure, may be reminded that there were other times. Incredible performances, however. Gianni Bugno won there as well, as did Guarini in 99. And Conti in 94 as problems at the back. This is André Amador trying to put a few more riders in trouble. Egan Bernal is still there. Castroviejo is hanging on for dear life. Over the top they come. Castroviejo's done it, and that's a big ride from him. Very good ride from Sky Spanish climber. And he's going to come try and make his way back towards the front, I think, now, and help his team. And there he is in the white jersey, just moving up. Strong time trialist who can climb fantastically well. Ex-Movistar man, ex-Euskaltel man. Remember him winning the prologue at the Tour de Romandie. First big win for him. So there's a bit of cross headwind here on this section. Kruijswijk trying to get a little bit of shelter right next to the caravans. .48 to go. Gap at 6:10. Falls flat downhill, bits of descent, little bits of lips uphill, but look at those flags blowing. Cross headwind, it cannot be easy for Steven Kruijswijk out there on his own at the moment, Brian Smith.
No, not at all. The wind is blowing. It's very exposed in this part of the climb. This is the, if you come up the other way, this is the Glandon. And, you know, many riders come to this area and climb these iconic climbs in the area. And, yeah, we've got a kind of change of guard now with Castroviejo doing a very good job hanging on, because he dropped back a little bit, and now he's been told to get to the front and do his job, rightly so. But Movistar deciding that make it hard in the climb, let's get Sky do it now.
This is how the mountain classification stands after Warren Barguil took maximum points, pardon me, second maximum points on the top of that climb after Kruijswijk was up there. Julien Alaphilippe at the moment keeps the mountains classification jersey, the polka dot jersey. He's on 84 points ahead of Warren Barguil in 70. Serge Pauwels third at 63, Geraint Thomas down in fourth, and David Gaudu, who has just joined the Alejandro Valverde group, which we're told is at about 4 minutes from this man. 2 minutes in front of the yellow jersey Geraint Thomas. Gaudu in fifth in the mountains classification. Some proper descending to do now for Steven Kruijswijk after the false flat descent. Chris Froome having a chat with an old teammate. I wonder if he's thanking him for the work they've just done, Brian, because we saw tactical errors yesterday from Bahrain Merida with, you know, Sky being helped by Vincenzo Nibali's team at a time when you thought that everybody would sit back and say, hang on a minute, okay, you're the famous Sky team, you've got all these great riders, you do the work, you tire yourselves out. Here we have Movistar doing their work for them.
Yeah, I think what Bardet and Merida tried to do is what we've seen today, what Movistar and AG2R tried to do. They tried to kind of keep the pressure on, but I don't think Pellizotti was up for the task. They wanted to kind of drive over the top of the climb and put maybe some of the Sky riders out the back. Well, it never happened, and it just looked as if they were just, you know, driving along and helping Team Sky. Well, today's another day, and you know, we've seen Movistar do it and AG2R. But it hasn't, you know, the only rider that's been distanced now that was there before was in fact Wout Poels. So, situation now that, you know, we have got 5 Sky riders in this front group, very small group of just over 20 riders. We can see that Nibali is on his own in this group, nobody to help him, and if you need anything, you need to go back and get it yourself, which is, you know, as a champion such as Nibali, it's not the best situation to be had. And you know, we talked about this before, when you look at the front of the peloton and there's 5 Sky riders and you're on your own. Dan Martin's on his own, Tom Dumoulin has got a teammate with him, Getchka, luckily Bardet's got a teammate with him, Latour, but it's all individual riders, and luckily Dumoulin's got another man coming back now.
So then we're talking about Movistar's tactics. Let's hear from who we think is their main leader, Nairo Quintana.
No, what's Steve feeling ahead of today's stage, ahead of Alpe d'Huez? What are you expecting today? I've really been looking forward to it. We're hoping it's going to be better than yesterday's stage, because that really wasn't very good. It's a really important stage as far as the Tour is concerned, so we're hoping that it's going to go well. How's the team feeling? Team's doing okay. We're all hoping to attack and do something really special today, but we're also going to try and enjoy it. But we're definitely going to go out there and do something. Roberto Urán has said goodbye to the Tour, so what do you think about that? Well, there are years like this. There are good years and bad years. It's not a good year for him. I hope he recovers well, and I hope he continues his career after this.
With the Alejandro Valverde group that also contains Robert Gesink and Ilno Zakarin. Dani Navarro, I think, is there as well. This is Valverde with the red number on his back. Nice to see him not being a litter bug as well. He's kept all his wrappers and shoved even a banana skin back in his pocket. And this is why you wouldn't want to be a litter bug around here. Look at that. And as Stephen Betley tells us on Twitter, the descent past the Barrage de Grande Maison is still one of the most picturesque sights on the Tour de France 2018. See all the flowers out as well. "40 kilometers to go, and Kruisweg's up the road." There we go again. So we all know Alpe d'Huez from the past. Let's remind ourselves, though, a recon of a different type. It's the one and only.
Everyone thinking on Tour de France climbs, there will be a few that are very notorious, and one, it will be the most iconic. L'Alpe d'Huez has 21 corners and a distance of 14 kilometers long, and I do believe that from right at the bottom, that feels claustrophobic. There is a wall of 1,100 meters of elevation, and you know what? we're about to test it out. Whoa! Easy! Easy, here's the wall already. And you can immediately feel the over 10% of gradient right from the bottom. Everything feels like this, like a wall. That's all the feeling you got all the time. And that's why it is scary. You can't really see the summit. Just a big wall all the time, right on your face.
After a couple of kilometres, the gradient does slightly decrease, fluctuating between 8 and 10%, but the effort's still huge. It's hot, there's no real airflow, and many cyclists up the road will be struggling. You'll see a succession of turns named from past winners, and sometimes it's good to have a break. Sometimes a Dutch corner.
Famous corner number 7, very well known as the Dutch corner, and it's well worth stopping. There's a lot of music, and it is a party. And you know what? Everyone celebrates that for the first time you can see the top of l'Alpe d'Huez. Just after passing the town of Weston-Ozan, that's where it gets steeper. And this section, it is some ramps up to 13% of gradient. And it's about 4 kilometers of distance to go to the finish line. I wish I was Rafa Majka today, but unfortunately I'm not. There is always a huge crowd here in Alpe d'Huez, but for us, it is the first time we ever met so many cyclists going uphill as well. For the tempo and for the rhythm, think about those 21 corners. Well, you might realize as well that it's very difficult to hold it and have a steady one all the way up to the finish line. But actually, that crowd gives you a huge help as well, because they constantly encourage you to go faster and increase that pace, or at least make you realize that you're not suffering that much when actually you are suffering quite a lot.
Stock copy in 1952 and Antonio Fletcher early on today, who's going to be the proper winner later on. What about your recon, Brian? I think you did yours in the dark, didn't you, last night?
Yeah, I did, but I know this climb. I know Alpe d'Huez fairly well, virtually and in person. And one of the times I did it was the nicest climb I've ever ridden. Went from the bottom of it with a small group. Rode with a South African friend of mine, Sven Thiel, and we stopped in Dutch Corner, had a beer, the rest passed on, and we went and caught them, and then we finished it, had a couple of beers, and was joined by no other than Scott Sunderland and the rest of the CSC team, and it was a great occasion.
Pantani's climbing record not in danger then, and I think there was one recurring theme to that ride, wasn't there? Beer.
Yes, I think we never broke it last night, that's for sure, and that's in the car.
36:40 from 1995. Pantani also won in 1997. That ride in 95, by the way, was the first of his 8-stage wins in his history with the Tour de France. Well, we're still over 30 kilometres to the finish and conclusion of today's stage. It's stage 12 of this Tour de France, the 105th edition of the Tour, and we're on our way up to the legendary Alpe d'Huez. Chasing group is almost in the sights of those in the yellow jersey group, and this particular chasing group is that of Alejandro Valverde. He's with Ilno Zakarin, and they are, just a couple of 100 metres now ahead of the yellow jersey group. In the meantime, the other chasing group that went off in search of Steven Kruijswijk, the lone leader, is 4 minutes from Steven Kruijswijk, and you have this area where the wind was blowing from the side and in front of him. Kruijswijk has only lost about 15 to 20 seconds from the gap of 6:10 he had. He's done pretty well so far, and we're hearing that in the valley is about to hit, as Castroviejo is in pain chasing for Team Sky, that there's tailwind for those in the valley, and mostly tailwind up the climb.
Yes, indeed. I think obviously he will hold on until the Alpe. It's what's he got left in the tank? 13.8 kilometres, 8.1% average with 12% maximum. It's a hard climb, but I think what motivates him is the history of Dutch cycling and Dutch success in Alpe d'Huez, and it's a brave move going out. He decided to leave this group early. He possibly felt that they weren't riding hard enough, and he was right. I was questioning him that maybe he'd gone too early, and maybe should have taken a few riders with him. But when you're in the race, you get the feeling it just comes kind of natural that was the time to go, and he's made a nice fist of it.
This group is going to be back with the yellow jersey group pretty soon. It's clear that quite a few are sitting up now. There's a lot of looking around. They're on a short little lip, and then it's descent again. There's Valverde just snipping onto the wheel of Daniel Navarro. This man's not waiting up. He can see his name on a roll of honour that includes plenty of his countrymen. No Dutch win, however, here on the Dutch mountain since 1989. Steven Kruiswijk, 5 minutes and 50 ahead of Geraint Thomas and the yellow jersey. 80 kilometres per hour down here. As we said earlier on, for those of you perhaps just joining us, he's gone under the radar a little this year, but he's had solid general classification results in each of his 4 week-long stage races. He's finished either 7th or 8th in all of them.
Well, we're now into the 12th stage of the Tour. We haven't really spoken about him. It's all about Roglic, and all of a sudden Kruiswijk pops up in the breakaway. I thought initially when I saw the 26 names, I thought that's a danger, because like you, I saw that he'd ridden well in a lot of the races. He's got the pedigree, and obviously feels good. And when he went on the attack, and we all know that Chris Froome did an epic ride in the Giro d'Italia. Well, this could be another epic ride here. We're witnessing the Tour de France, but Steven Kruiswijk, if he can hold on, I think he's got a very good chance with the way the wind is blowing in the valley towards Bourg-Boisson. He stands a very good chance. The question is, will he have enough time at the end to be in yellow? I'm not too sure, but stage 1 he'll take it, moving up in the general classification. Roglic, I think it was set up for Roglic to sit in the wheels and maybe do something as well. Whether they continue that plan, we'll have to wait and see. It's still going to be fascinating to see how this unfolds.
Well, just to remind you, the gap from the yellow jersey to Steven Kruiswijk before the day was 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Kruiswijk, who sat in 6th place. Geraint Thomas in the lead after 44 hours and 6 minutes of riding. Another man in this group who's already won a Grand Tour is Tom Dumoulin. He was going well yesterday.
Tom, what's it actually like when you've got a team like Sky who have been so dominant and are so dominant again on the mountain, mentally, physically? What's it actually like?
It's pretty alright, but it's very difficult to make a difference when you have a team like that riding in front of you. But yeah, we just have to make the best out of it and take the opportunities when they come, and I did that yesterday, and I hope more opportunities will arise.
For fans, we love seeing you attack, we love the way that you ride as well. Are there some guys on other teams that can you kind of join together? There's got to be a way to defeat Team Sky.
Yeah, but eventually it all also depends on legs, and like we saw yesterday, they also have the 2 strongest riders at the moment, with their leaders Thomas and Froome. So yeah, then you can attack what you want, but yeah, then you make it very difficult for yourself. So it's not an everyday thing that they will be attacked like yesterday, I think.
And just tell us how you're looking forward to today. First time up Alpe d'Huez on the Tour de France. It's legendary, it's mythical, it's exciting. Are you nervous? How is it?
All that, yeah. No, it's going to be nice. I did it in 2013, and it was a very special experience.
Good luck today, thanks.
A very special experience for all Dutch riders especially. It's almost always been a road stage as well, the climb to Alpe d'Huez, but there was one occasion where there was a mountain time trial, and that was Lance Armstrong being the quickest after starting in Bourg de Voisin, right at the bottom of the climb. And the climb itself is 13.8 kilometers long. We're talking 7.9% of an average gradient, and there's a short period where there's a maximum gradient of 14%. And this is the team that's bossing it. Ice down the back of the neck again for Steven Kruijswijk as he talks to his sports director.
Yeah, Frans Maassen there giving him all the help he needs, and also the help of the team car, because when you come over this exposed section, you know, the Dutch are always fly at these things. The wind is coming from the northwest, it's coming from the right hand side, so the car up the right hand side, just giving a little bit of help there, and he needs every little bit of help if he wants to kind of hold off. I think for the moment they'd be more than happy with the stage, but I think that's what Kruijswijk was sent out to do. Think of the stage, getting a breakaway, put the pressure on Team Sky. It's all for Roglic, and with 5.5 minutes he'll go to the end of the dam, swing right, come down the dam wall, and then start to head in towards the flats of into Bourg de Voisin, and then it'll be up the climb. I would think that he would lose a considerable amount of time on the climb, but he still looks strong for the time being.
And he will take that swing right you talked about, with a gap of 4 minutes and 7 seconds over the three riders who are chasing him, who we haven't seen for a while. Bardet, who was with Nieve, and Rafał Majka there as well. 5:32 over the yellow jersey. Warren Barguil at 4 minutes and 8 seconds. He's with Rafał Majka and Mikel Nieve. Mikel Nieve, who has become the de facto GC man for Mitchelton Scott, with Adam Yates again being dropped today. Michał Kwiatkowski on the front for Team Sky. Jonathan Castroviejo still there, just behind him. Then it's in the yellow jersey, the race leader, the 32-year-old Geraint Thomas. Geraint Thomas, who now has 2 stage wins at the Tour de France after yesterday, in what is his 9th Tour de France, and now his 5th day in the yellow jersey.
Yeah, and he took the stage win in the prologue in Düsseldorf last year, so to get a road victory here in the Tour de France, especially a mountaintop finish, that's a dream come true for him, and I think he said afterwards that was his best win ever.
And we remind you that the best overall general classification result pulled off by Geraint Thomas at a Tour de France has been a 15th position in both 2015 and 2016. That, of course, is domestic. You never know what these guys can achieve unless you actually ride for them one day.
Well, he's put himself in the position, and dare we say it, this could actually go down to the final time trial between Froome and Geraint Thomas.
We've had a few final time trials that have decided Tour de France, haven't we? Most notably on the Champs-Élysées. Of course, Champs-Élysées this year will be, as usual, a sprint stage. We saw Geraint Thomas there, but there's a Chris Froome shaped in the room.
If you and Geraint both have good legs on Alpe d'Huez, do you have the freedom to attack the yellow jersey to try and gain time?
It's going to be all about the legs out on the road. Once we get up onto Alpe d'Huez, we've got 5,000 meters of climbing today, so it's going to be a massive day today, especially after the stage we had yesterday.
The legs are there. Do you have the green light from the team? Are you allowed to make that move?
As I said, let's see how the legs are once we get up onto that final climb, and then we'll be able to make those calls on the road. But obviously we've got 2 cards to play. Other teams have also got options, so puts us in a fantastic position.
Who will ultimately make the decision?
We will on the road.
You, Geraint, or the team car?
Yeah.
How much more confidence did the yellow jersey give you?
Doesn't feel like it. It's been brutal racing the last few days. Yesterday, things panned out really well for us with G taking the stage and the yellow jersey. We've been riding for 2 days on the front, so it's great to see G in the yellow jersey now.
But you have the race under control?
As under control as it could be, I think. It's always tough to control a race, especially when it's on such tough terrain. But that's what we've trained for, and that's what we're here to try and do.
we're going to try and defend, obviously, the position first and second that we are at the moment on the general classification best we can. Thank you.
Lots of questions to be dealt with by Chris Froome there. And you wonder if they're going to be dealing with the same questions at the end of today. Sean Kelly's replaced Brian Smith in the commentary box for the final 24 kilometres. He came in and said, I wonder who's going to survive today. Well, who is going to survive today, Sean?
That's the big question, who's going to survive on the climb to Alpe here, because they have raced so hard today, and you know, they have really tested Team Sky. First of all, you know, the way the breakaway went away, then we did see Movistar really pushing on there, so the tactic was, you know, to go out and really make it difficult for Team Sky, and they have done that, but still we can see Castroveco. We could see on that climb through the Coiffer, he was on the river, on the limit in the final 2 kilometres, but he was over there. You have to stay in, you have to be able to do descent and do the valley, which is so important here to get to Alpe d'Huez, and we can see he's still doing the business there. He's doing an amazing ride, and you know, when he pulls over, I think he'll just come to a standstill. I don't know how he's going to get up the Alps, some of these guys, but it's going to be an interesting one, the general classification, man. Who's got the little bit more energy left, who can survive here on the climb to the Alp?
What about the yellow jersey? Is it going to stay with one of the riders in this group, Geraint Thomas or anybody else, or is Steven Kruijswijk going to have enough left in the tank?
Well, it's going to be a big ask for Kruijswijk to hold on. The effort he's made here, you know, in the valley, and then you get onto the Alpe to hold on, but he has a good advantage. It's going to be an interesting one. It's been done before, of course. You know, the Alpe, we have, looking back in the history of the race here, we have seen another Dutchman, Tunison. He did a ride many years ago. He was the last winner, of course, and he rode a huge amount out in front all alone, and he did survive. But this is a different situation because Kruijswijk is very much in the general classification. I think he has a good chance of surviving.
We'll see. Last commercial break coming up. We're nearing the business end of stage 12 of the Tour de France. And for the 30th time, the Tour climbs the road that twists and turns 21 times, and which so often in the past has had something serious to say about the final destination of the yellow jersey. Here we are, each and every one of those 21 turns. I can tell you that coming back from the commercial break, we've had Maika, Barguil and Nieve retaken by the yellow jersey group, who are now at 4 minutes and 45 seconds from the sole man up the road. That is the Alpe d'Huez. It's cycling circus at the Tour de France, and Steven Kruijswijk, a Dutchman, leads on the Nederlandse Berg, the Dutch mountain. And Sean, in the 80s when you were riding, it very much was the property of the Dutch.
It certainly was. You know, there's great history here, and of course Dutch Corner, you know, it's been there for many years, and we know the reason why, because you know, the riders that have won up there, you know, Peter Winnen, Henny Kuiper, Zuidermelk, and it's the stage of the Tour of France. It's like the Champs-Élysées for the sprinters. To win an Alpe d'Huez, well, if you can do that, well, you go down the history books and they'll talk about it for a long time. And we can see the way Kruijswijk is excuse me, he's taken it up today, and he's really went out there for it, and is looking good, 4:38, but it all depends how much he has got left here, because the Alpe, you know, this can be a real killer. If you're starting to tire, you're starting to weak, well, then you can lose time very quickly. And we can see here, you know, Sky are starting to just, you know, slowly wind it up. It will be interesting to see what Sky will do here. Will, you know, Bernal, if he's in a really good day and he starts setting that for inferno tempo, well, then, you know, the advantage will come down very quickly. But 4:36, I'm hoping that Kruijswijk, because he deserves the way he's went out of it today.
It's been a fantastic ride, and we've had some great racing throughout the day. Everybody trying to put Sky under pressure. Yes, we might have seen one or two tactical mistakes and helping them towards the last climb, notably thinking of Movistar. But Movistar as well, they were very brave. They put Valverde up the road. Soler has been there as well. We've had some fantastic racing at the Tour de France in the last couple of days, following on from the Sky exhibition yesterday that saw Geraint Thomas take the jersey for the 5th time in his career. It's been everybody else to challenge them as we go to this very historic place. And look at it. We talk about the Dutch. They're being policed on their own corner. I can tell you that there's a ban on alcohol sale in Dutch corner today. It's calm before the storm.
Yes, I think they can, because they know Dutchman out in front, 4.5 plus minutes in advantage, and you know, they're there, they're watching their television screens, and I think they're concerned. You know, is he going to get it? Is he going to make it? And that's what's happening there at the moment. But you know, he will get some reception when he comes through the Dutch corner, and as the roars will be unbelievable. And yes, we can see that he's getting ever so close up. But you can see here in the valley, when you have to make this effort on the flat, and then you get onto the climb. We know Alpe, when you get onto it there, just kick straight up. The grading gets very, very severe right in the beginning, and with the big gear that he's trying to churn around here at the moment, you know, it can't have a huge effect. It's going to be a massive performance from him, but still looking, you know, possible for him.
He's approaching the town of Bourg-d'Oisans, is Steven Kruijswijk. Just after that, at 13.8 kilometers to go, the climb proper begins. It's up to 1,850 metres. It's up to, as we described it before, a little bit like Benidorm on the top of a hill. It's a mass tourism ski resort. 800,000 people here the last time the stage was here. Busy in winter, packed every few years in summer. It is the 30th ascent of Alpe d'Huez in the history of the Tour de France, following on from the first time in 1952 when Fausto Coppi took the win. There have been some fantastic names to add their names to the Roll of Honour since. In the Bourg-d'Oisans, and we're approaching the start of the climb. 175 kilometers long this, 2.6 to go until the climb, and then the final 13.8 to the top. Some stunning scenery up the top as well. I tell you, it's been a great atmosphere since the start of the day. He said it had been up here 29 times in the past. You know that in 1 year we actually had 2 stage finishes on Alpe d'Huez. They couldn't get enough of it in 1979. Only Paris and Monaco are the other 2 places have had the honour of having 2 stage finishes in the same tour.
Well, Paris and Monaco will be a bit easier, because it's not Alpe d'Huez climbing it twice in the same year. But you know, we have you know, some great history from this place. Of course, we had the time trial as well some years ago. We had, you know, Pantani is the record holder, I think 37-35. He did in the 1997, but a very short stage. This is a different situation altogether. Kruijswijk is definitely not going to do that. Will there be somebody from Sky? Will Chris Froome, you know, put in one of these performances where he attack a bit further out if he wants really to go for the stage? And as we mentioned, Rob, you know, there's so many riders who want to win here. It's just a huge one to get a victory here.
Great reception for Steven Kruijswijk. I can tell you, despite Dutch corner as well, there's also Cumbria corner we drove past last night. The Welsh waiting for Geraint Thomas on turn 14. Kruijswijk approaching the slopes that have been witness to some of the greatest moments in Tour de France history. He is 1.2 kilometers away from the gates to Alpe d'Huez. How's he looking, Sean Kelly?
Well, he's looking very impressive. We see the way he's riding there, you know, out of the saddle. He's on a pretty big gear, but when you get onto the climb itself, that will be seen pretty quickly. And I think we have to wait for the times. When we get maybe to 3 kilometers into the climb, that's when we will see. And depending on what happened as well back in the peloton of favourites now, you know, if they start, you know, pushing on, well, then that could be the point where it could be difficult for Kruijswijk to hold on. You know, let's hope everybody get up safe. Alpe d'Huez is always, you know, a spectacular one. People are there for many hours. A lot of alcohol taken, but the good thing on Dutch corner, they weren't allowed to sell the alcohol, but that doesn't stop them from getting it, because they can go down to Bourg-d'Oisans and take it up with them, so it's not going to change a lot. But we remember many years ago, was it 1999, when there was a rider out in front, Giuseppe Gironi, he was in front, and a kilometre to go a spectator stepped out in front of him and knocked him off, and he managed to get back on his bike and won. Hopefully, we know the Alpe, you know, it's a big one, and we see the people that really crowded in the road. Hopefully all the riders get through safely.
Four minutes and 18 seconds, and this is where it begins. The history, the legend, the roll of honour. Fast or copy was the very first, but we're about to find out exactly who the next will be. Steven Kruijswijk, a Dutchman, at the front, on the way up the Dutch mountain, the Alpe d'Huez. 13.8 kilometres, 8.1% the average. And Kruijswijk, if he keeps this gap, will be the virtual general classification leader. However, 4 minutes 19, all the firepower behind. A stage win could happen. A yellow jersey is looking unlikely for the Dutchman at the moment. There's Vincenzo Nibali. He's in the next group, and he's with Kruijswijk's teammate Primož Roglic. This group has got a little bigger. Back on is Jakob Fuglsang. Rafał Majka is there. Mikel Landa. That is Warren Barguil. But the rest of the big challengers are up the front. Geraint Thomas has the yellow jersey, and the group is about to hit to Port d'Oisans, the town at the bottom. It's a beautiful sunny day up here. Jonathan Castroviejo takes over the pace setting. How long will he last? Behind him is Michał Kwiatkowski, Egan Bernal, the yellow jersey Geraint Thomas, and the four-time Tour de France winner Chris Froome. Behind them Movistar with Alejandro Valverde, with Andrea Amador, Mikel Landa, the former Sky rider, and of course Nairo Quintana, the man who put Chris Froome under quite a bit of pressure the last time he was up here.
He certainly did, and I think there's a lot of expectations for Nairo Quintana here, because you know, the way the race has been riding, everybody is going to be very, very tired. This time, of course, for Quintana, it's a one where it suits him. The gradient is pretty, you know, severe all the way, and he's got to try something here today. This is an opportunity for him, and you know, he's done it before where he put Chris Froome in difficulty. Will he be able to do that today? We'll have to wait over the next 13 kilometres.
Kruijswijk on that 10% gradient up to turn 21, and we'll be talking about the hairpins in reverse order. They're numbered 21 to 1, and then there's two bonus hairpins that actually come up once you get to the town itself. Look out for turn 19, when 25-year-old Marco Pantani attacked for the first of his two wins. He dropped Gotti, Jalabert and Virenque on the way up to this first of the 8 Tour de France stage wins. Cumbria corner, with Geraint Thomas in mind, is at turn 14. We've got the Irish at turn 11 for Dan Martin as well. Dutch corner on turn 7, and the steepest gradient comes on turn 4 at 14%. 40 kilometers per hour here for Jonathan Castroviejo. He's setting some pace, and the gap is down to 4 minutes and 10. But there's a lot of riders who have not had their face in the wind at all yet today, and they're ready to chase this man who's 1 kilometre in and still hangs over in that familiar position. Likes to ride with that jersey open on the climbs. Big wide shoulders set over the bars. Steven Kruijswijk back at the Tour for the first time in a while. We have, what, 25, 30 riders maybe in this group now. 4 minutes and 9 behind. And the yellow jersey group is about to hit the slopes for the first time. Bob Youngle's still in there. He's the man just sitting up, putting his glasses on. Jersey on zip though. He stands to gain quite a lot today. Making his way towards the top 10 if he can certainly stand the pace for a while. Just stretching out on the left-hand side. If you're looking for recent winners, the last three have all been French. Thibaut Pinot in 2015, Christophe Riblon 2 years earlier, and Pierre Rolland in 2011. If you're looking for a French winner from this group, you've probably got to be looking at Romain Bardet, haven't you?
Would think so. You know, he's the one who is certainly the pure climber, and out of this group, when you look at the composition of the group, Bardet is the one the French hopes are, you know, they're relying on him to do something here. And
Yeah, it's going to be interesting one. Yesterday we see Bardet not really at his best in the final run in, but this climb is a better one. It's a real climber's climb here.
And there's Castroviejo, who has gone. Robin Heesink suffering the same fate. Rafał Majka behind dropped as well. There's Laurens ten Dam being dropped. We're having casualties as soon as the road goes up past 10%. Same for Mikel Nievetu. Andre Amador, the latest to be distanced. Warren Barguil, we're hearing, is also off the back of the group. The yellow jersey group has started this climb at quite a pace. There's Jonas Aguirre on the left-hand side losing contact in the red jersey. The gap to Steven Kruijswijk is down below 4 minutes, and it's an uneasy few kilometres for him now to see how he can hold on and how Michał Kwiatkowski rides behind.
Yes, and I think the gap is going to come down in the area part, because we did see Castroviejo. He just rode himself to a standstill and really was pushing out a very fast pace there. Now we have Kwiatkowski, of course, he will push on as well, but I think Kwiatkowski will settle it a bit. He will be expected to ride a number of kilometres on the front, so I think the gap should be stabilised, but that will depend on how Kruijswijk digest this here. We can see he's still out of the saddle here, looking okay, but it's the clock will tell the real story.
Mostly tailwind we're hearing on this climb from our colleagues at Belgian television. Not so much of a matter to Rafał Majka, whose GC challenge has gone. Good that he could just about smile about it. Guillaume Martin, the latest to be dropped. Fighting to hold the last wheel as Valverde was close to the back. Remember, he's been in the breakaway today. Fans from Slovakia on the left-hand side. They've got quite a wait for Peter Sagan in the green jersey. And this is the 30th passage up to the top of Alpe d'Huez in the Tour de France. Team Sky pulling at the front. Martin just trying to control that distance. Is there any rest point at any point in this climb?
Well, depending on how it rides, who's riding on the front, what way the race is going. You always talk about gradients. This is a steep section, but sometimes on this steep section they look at each other. If there's not somebody prepared, as we see Kwiatkowski here really pushing on, but if it's between the favourites, sometime on the most difficult path they start to look at each other, and then you get to an easier part where the gradient is not as much, but if somebody really push on, so on a climb it depends on the pace you're going.
Big moment coming up now as Geraint Thomas is on the radio to say that Michał Kwiatkowski is done. Wasn't the longest turn from the Polish champion, and it's now down to see what Egan Bernal can offer Team Sky.
Yes, it's going to be interesting now. Bernal yesterday, he was there, in the wheel of Kwiatkowski. He was in line to take up the pacing on the front, but disappeared before his turn came about. As we can see, Pierre Roland losing contact. So Bernal, was he really spared a bit yesterday? Maybe they said to him, just take it a bit easier. Tomorrow's the day where you can be really helpful to the team on the Alpe. We can see here now he's sitting into a pace, but the question is, how long is he going to be able to stay on the front?
Pierre Latour, the latest to be distanced. And this is good news for Bernal in the white jersey classification. But for the minute, his main task is to pull his leader Geraint Thomas and Chris Froome, who could well still be the overall leader, in third place. Nairo Quintana's looking very comfortable. Romain Bardet sits behind Movistar in the brown jersey. Roglic moving up on the left-hand side, the Slovenian. He's in the black and yellow. He still has his teammate up the road. Steven Kruijswijk has 3 minutes and 44 with 11.5 kilometres to go. If he's thinking of the yellow jersey, he's got another minute of a gap, and the way the gap is being brought down, it's not looking good. Oh, and it's not looking good either for Bob Jungels. He hasn't lasted very long at all in that group. Same with Alejandro Valverde, who's being dropped. Same with Søren Kragh, who's towards the back as well. Dan Martin on the right-hand side being cheered on by an Irish flag. And on the left-hand side, we're looking at Vincenzo Nibali in the red jersey. Simon Geschke's held on, and that is some ride from him.
Yes, it is, and when you look at the riders are here and the riders that are losing contact, anybody that's here, you have to be on a real good day to get him to this point. And we can see from the quick step floors, the man we were expecting, Bob Jungels, I thought he would be able to hang on for a bit longer, but sometimes the bigger riders do that. If the pace is really that little bit too high, they knock it off and they just get into their own rhythm. So we might see him just settling in. As we can see him here, he's just 20 metres off the the last rider of that group of favourites.
Valverde going backwards. And I think we expected this after yesterday. It was another courageous move from him today. It's pretty clear that he is not going to be one of the leaders at Movistar now at this Tour de France. And he's distanced as one of the oldest riders in the race by the youngest rider in the race. Egan Bernal at 21 years of age. Youngest, but he could end up being one of the most important. A former winner of the Tour de l'Avenir. And he has Geraint Thomas behind him. Now, the way that Sky are setting up, it's Chris Froome they're looking after, isn't it?
Well, they're looking after, I think, both here. They're looking after the yellow jersey and Chris Froome, because, you know, Bernal looks like that, you know, he's into this rhythm here, and he's working away at it. We can see 2:41 to Kruijswijk. It is coming down, and it's...
And the yellow jersey goes there,
yes, the yellow jersey is not going to be for him today, but, you know, will he be able to hold on? It is going to be a difficult one, and if there's, you know, some attacks at all from the favourites, well, then immediately... If Quintana goes in the attack, well, then he's going to lose 15 seconds, you know, very, very quickly. In one attack, it just come down so quickly.
2 minutes and 5. This is an infernal pace being put on by Egan Bernal behind as they go through a few Geraint Thomas posters. Now, this is Dan Martin we're watching with interest at the back. You'd have thought today's climb suited him, but it all depends on the legs. At the moment, he's holding the wheel as Alejandro Valverde takes a beat on. 4:28 down at the start of the day. That gap to whoever is in the yellow jersey will grow today, as will that from the lead to Pierre Latour, the best young rider. Ten and a half kilometres to go for Steven Kruijswijk. 3 minutes 30 we're being told the gap is. Well, we heard 2:30 a moment ago. We'll give it a minute to see if it stabilises. This isn't a good sight for Irish fans, Sean. Dan Martin losing the wheel.
Yes, not looking good, although yesterday he'd lose it for briefly, and then he got back into his rhythm again and came back and went in the attack, so hopefully he can do something. But at this point, you know, where they are from the finish, if he is really in difficulty, well, then he could lose a lot of time to some of the other contenders here for the top places in general classification.
So we know that Froome and Thomas are still there. Roglic was there. Bardet, Quintana, Landa, Nibali still in the group, as is Dumoulin. This is the leader on the road, and it looks as though that gap has stabilised at 3:26. So the yellow jersey mathematically hasn't gone yet for Steven Kruijswijk. There's Company Corner we were talking about. The Welsh out in fort to support their man. They're going to have to wait 3 minutes and 26 seconds to see a very proud moment. Geraint Thomas coming through in the yellow jersey. Also in this group, but hanging on at the back, Jakob Fuglsang, who's on a better day today. Danish leader from Astana. We're down to the cream of the crop at the Tour de France. It's the second of 3 mountain top finishes. And the most legendary one, certainly for anybody who comes from the Netherlands. He's on an 11% gradient at the moment, travelling at 18 kilometres per hour. And 3 minutes and 23 in front of the yellow jersey group behind. Under 10 kilometres to go now for Kruijswijk. Any signs from how he's looking?
Well, he still looks to be travelling at a good rate. When you see that, you know, 17 kilometres per hour, that is good going on a climb at this gradient, and at this point in the race, considering what the effort he has put in. But he has to keep it going for still, you know, another 10 kilometres. I know it does ease off in areas, but still, it's 10 kilometres in the finish, and it's going to be interesting now. You know, will Bernal be left to set the pace? Will somebody attack? You would expect Movistar, Landa, for example, he might be the first one to go and try and test the other guys to see what the reaction will be, especially from, you know, Chris Froome and Geraint Thomas and the rest of the guys in the favourites group here.
Dan Martin continues to lose ground, I'm afraid. Irish rider from UAE Fly Emirates, 10th place before today at 3 minutes and 16. He hasn't been short of a bit of bad luck in this tour. He's bounced back brilliantly every time so far, even stealing bonus seconds on the way to Roubaix the other day. You talked about attacking, Sean. Is it possible with this pace that's being put on by Egan Bernal at the front?
Well, that's always the question, and we did, talk about that yesterday when they do set a pace on the front. Why the question was asked why there are not more riders and more teams attacking. It's difficult to do on a climb, when they're setting that pace, and when you look at the way they're climbing here, it looks like that is going at a real fast rate, and unless there's somebody really on a super day or a super climber, and the Quintana, of course, is the one who springs to mind. And Bardet, he's on a real good day as well, because he's one of these lightweight riders, and when we get to the more steeper gradients...
Vincenzo Nibali is going for it. We question whether it was possible to attack. Vincenzo Nibali is trying, and the shark is on the hunt. Riding away from the group, and at the minute there's no immediate reaction, just a continuation of the pace setting from Egan Bernal. No panic yet, Sean Kelly.
No, well, Bernal, I think we can see the way he's setting the pace, and he just keeps on, pushing on here. We will see with Nibali, to make an attack, you can make that effort for 5 or 10 seconds, but to keep it going, then that is going to be the difficult one. We'll see very quickly if he continues to pull out his advantage. We can see, Sky still just on the front of with Bernal setting the pace.
Well, Nibali hasn't got too much of a gap, not really increasing it too much either, but he's looking okay. Dumoulin at the back now, the latest, just to watch. Nibali still being chased by Egan Bernal. By the way, the 2014 winner Nibali, when Chris Froome crashed out, remember, started today at 2 minutes and 14 seconds from the yellow jersey of Geraint Thomas. Nibali looks around. Kruijswijk, if the stage were to finish now, would still have the yellow jersey, but by 22 seconds. That gap is coming down. Still 3 minutes up the road though for Kruijswijk. Still has a chance here. All depends on what happens behind. And of course, how much is left in the tank. Moto Jumbo rider back in this group is Roglic, who's been allowed to sit on nicely, and good news for Tom Dumoulin fans. Looked as though he might be half a wheel behind. He's sticking on as Nibali is back in the group now. So first attack brings nothing. What happens next? Up the road, nothing is changing. Steven Kruijswijk on a 10% gradient. 8.8 kilometers still remain. And we're hearing that Dan Martin is now 20 seconds behind this group on the screen. Nibali straight back in the group. So he didn't completely blow with that effort. Of course, he's much more of a savvy racer than to do that. We're about 5 kilometers into the legendary 21 hairpin ascent of Alpe d'Huez. We started the day in Bourg Saint-Maurice, 175 kilometers in total as Nairo Quintana attacks. We're approaching 5,000 meters of climbing on the day, and that is going to favour the big Colombian star. Last Colombian victory in the early 80s here from Lucho Herrera. And look at this, current Colombian star being chased down by the Colombian GC man of the future. This is fascinating.
It is really nice to see. We can see Bernal there, he's not panicking. As we can see, Fuglsang just starting to lose contact here. Bernal, when Quintana just goes in the attack, we can see just still walking away at it and keeping his pace, and he's doing a good job, and it's going to be an interesting one now to see, can Quintana really pull away here, but it looks good. Bernal looks comfortable, and I think he's going to continue on for quite a while, and looking good again for Sky.
Fuglsang trying to work his way back as Quintana's in the front, and his Grand Tour victories seem to arrive every 2 years. Giro 2014, Vuelta 2 years later. He's straight round this hairpin and trying to continue pressing on. And what a view that is on one of the 21 hairpins. 2018 then, 2 years later, maybe for Nairo Quintana. Week and a half yet to Paris. There's Steven Kruijswijk. First wants his say today, and then he'll look to the rest of the race. He has his teammate behind in the group. 8 kilometres to go. Not quite big fireworks yet. A few Catherine wheels set off in this group. 2.5 minutes enough for you, Sean, for Kruijswijk?
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. Very difficult to work it out here because we just don't know how much Kruijswijk has got left. He's going to start tiring, and we can see when anybody attack, it's not a big one. We can see Quintana there. He put in a little bit of a dig, but it wasn't a big one at all. And Bernal just pulled him back very comfortably. But it'll be a question now. Chris Froome, if he does start attacking here, well, then we know the way he can just up the pace a lot. That is the danger one for Kruijswijk out front. But still looking good at 7 kilometres, but it's going to be a tight one at the end for him to hold on.
2 aborted attacks. Fuglsang is back in the group, and we've just been through turn 10, Irish corner. Belgians on the side of the road on the left-hand side, with German fans up there as well. The Swiss are here with their flag on show. This is a wonderful atmosphere. Carnival stuff, and thankfully everybody behaving themselves so far. 769 metres on the road, you can see, between Kruijswijk and the yellow jersey group. Chris Froome still there. Geraint Thomas still there. We've seen attacks from Nibali and Quintana come to nothing yet. They weren't exactly break-the-bank attacks. They still have something left, the former Grand Tour winners. 11% gradient for both of the groups. Nice to hear the shouts from the Dutch fans dressed in their traditional orange. Bernal has now ridden almost half of the climb. Fuglsang hanging on. Dumoulin, who had a good day yesterday, up there in 3rd overall at 1 minute and 44 from Thomas, sits in the white jersey. Bardet keeping his powder dry. That was Landa. This is Nibali, and there's Quintana. Froome in front of him in the white. Quintana on the left. Little look around to survey the damage. Remember, it was at the end of the Tour de France we last saw all of this. Kruijswijk riding through the fans. It was Chris Froome who desperately needed more feeding, and to take a penalty on the way up. He was being escorted by Pools. We're not even at Dutch corner yet. Kruijswijk has to continue. One man who's not stopping is Bernal. We're talking 2:21 for Steven Kruijswijk. Geraint Thomas tries to cool himself down. How's he feeling in the yellow jersey? A huge moment in his career as Mikel Landa goes on the attack, and he's followed by Romain Bardet. This, Sean Kelly, could be serious stuff.
Yes, well, this could be a big one here. Landa, of course, when he gets out in front, he does make that sudden acceleration, but when he gets that gap, he just powers away, and we can see Bernal still the same. No panic here, just setting the pace here. And it'll be interesting one is Bardet. Will he ride with Landa? Is he capable of riding? That we will see, in the next couple of 100 metres.
Well, it's to Agir Desert's benefit, Movistar's benefit, but Movistar can't hold it. Landa pulls over, struggling to hold the wheel. It's Bardet who's going on the attack and putting more pressure on the pedals. He lost another man today in Tony Galopin, and it's the Frenchman who's in pursuit of the Dutchman. And this is looking better from Bardet, the only man who's been able to put any distance between himself and the group behind. Bardet of Agir Desert La Mondiale. He was launched by that attack from Mikel Landa. Landa couldn't hold it through. Bardet is looking very good. Still Egan Bernal stays at the front. Landa's back in the group. And look at this group. Look at how close everybody is. Oh, it's a festival atmosphere there as things are thrown. Let's hope that there's not too much more of that. Is this the right thing that Sky are doing here, Sean? Just continuing, not panicking?
Yes, I think it's a perfect scenario. If you have, Bernal who can set this pace and continue setting, for many kilometres, it's a great situation to be in. And we did see Bardet there. He's the only one who took any advantage. We see Quintana's attack, he was a short one. He only got maybe 10 metres, where you can see Bardet, he's pulled out a good advantage here. But will he be able to keep it going? And I think we're going to see attacks from Sky. Will it be from Chris Froome? Will Geraint Thomas be able to match the attacks of the other ones? That we will see. But 6.5 to go. There's still a long ways on this climb.
2 minutes and 5 seconds. And you just start to have a few more doubts about Steven Kruijswijk holding on if the attacks continue. Fuglsang has been distanced. Oh, Nairo Quintana distanced. And that's big news from Movistar. And after everything they've thrown at it over the last couple of days, that could be nothing short of a disaster for Movistar.
Well, yes, it is. It's a disaster. If he continues on to lose time here, he's not looking good at all, and this is not good for Movistar at all, because he will be the one you'd expect to do something here. Alpe d'Huez, it's the climb, the gradient should suit the real climber. Now it's Mikel Landa is the only one they have in there, but yes, it's going to be a big disappointment if Quintana loses time here again today.
Well, that is a turn up for the books. Nairo Quintana dropped. He's at 2 minutes from Steven Kruijswijk. The yellow jersey is at 1 minute and 53 from Steven Kruijswijk. Quintana not getting back on here as Dumoulin holds. And once more, one drops away. Quintana, as it stands, only going south, I'm afraid. And then after all that extra preparation, after racing less, after focusing on the Tour de France, after looking like he was in really good form, following all the moves on the cobbles, surviving all the incidents, Quintana losing time on the mountain. And that changes Mikel Landa's job here, because I suppose he just has to hold on and keep himself in the game now.
Yes, well, of course, Landa now is, he's the man that they're going to depend on from Movistar, and in the general classification, he's still very well up there. He's in 7th place, 256, I think, roughly at that. And Quintana, you can see he's, the cars have went by him very quickly. That tells he's losing time rapidly, as we can see. He's lost almost 25 seconds to the group of yellow jersey.
They come through Dutch corner. The orange flares burn. Romain Bardet into a blue cloud as well. He only has 10 seconds though. 1 minute and 38 in the meantime for this time, as Zinedine Zidane almost runs into a bit of trouble. Be careful with the selfies. We saw the other day that Alexis Vuillermoz was put out of the Tour de France by somebody trying to take a selfie on the cobbles. It is a wonderful atmosphere up here. Just hope it stays that way. Everybody wants to win on Alpe d'Huez, but we're down to just a few. Steven Kruijswijk has 1 minute and 22 seconds on Romain Bardet. He has 1 minute and 30 on the group you're seeing at the moment, and Team Sky are still in control of the yellow jersey and the yellow jersey group. They have Egan Bernal setting the pace behind this man carrying French hopes, Romain Bardet. Geraint Thomas is still in the group in the yellow jersey. Chris Froome's behind him. Nibali's already attacked, but he's keeping the pace. Roglic is there with a teammate up the road. Mikel Landa, Tom Dumoulin, but the big surprise is that it is goodbye to Nairo Quintana, who is losing 30 seconds as it stands to his big rivals. Make that 35. Well, Quintana has to try and stay in the game somehow. But with over 5.5 kilometres to go, It is not easy to limit losses, certainly when they're off in pursuit of Bardet, who is motoring along. Bardet 1 minute and 5 now from Kruijswijk, and Kruijswijk still has 5.3 kilometres to go. Sean, it's not nice to say, but I think the balance is starting to switch towards this group and away from Kruijswijk.
Yes, it's not looking good here as you go through. 5.3 to go. It's a long ways on this climb, and I think there's more action to come out of this group, and it will come, I think, from Team Sky. Will definitely try something, because we can see Bernal just setting that pace, and he's doing a huge performance here today, and he looks like he's going to continue for another bit. And Bardet is just riding at his best here, riding as hard as he can, but not carving out a big advantage at all.
This is a coming-of-age performance from Egan Bernal. We know he's achieved great things so far this season, but this is different kettle of fish altogether. This is the Tour de France on its most legendary mountain, really. And he's doing his bit to keep Sky not just in the game, but perhaps increase their advantage.
Yes, well, I think to be able to do it here after such a hard race today, and let's not forget we're into the end of the second week of a big tour. We have a lot of very fast, difficult racing for Bernal in the first week, the cobblestones, and when he's able to do that, that shows that he is a talent, and we've talked about that a lot. He's the talent of the future. I think for a big 3-week tour, he's the man for Sky in the coming years, and he's just shown more of that talent here today.
Romain Bardet is looking pretty good, however. Looks as though they put a little bit more distance around that last corner into the yellow jersey group. 47 seconds, and yet he's getting it up to almost 20 seconds to the yellow jersey group now. 47 behind Steven Kruijswijk, who I'm afraid now looks to be running out of gas. It's going to be a hot break for the Dutch. There's still a Dutch team member, however, in this group. Primož Roglic, who hasn't shown his face just yet. Kruijswijk has put in the ride of the day. And if there's no red number on his back tomorrow, I'm not sure what's going on. It will be the most combative performance of the day, I am sure. Whatever happens. Bardet ahead of those behind, with people falling in the road in front of them. Bernal looking good. Froome maybe just struggling to hold the wheel of Thomas for a moment. And we know the way he climbs, however. And that is it from Egan Bernal, who pulls to one side. And now what happens? We're at a key moment, a crossroads in the stage. It's the yellow jersey who is pulling for Chris Froome.
Certainly, as we can see, no hesitation at all from Geraint Thomas here. Once Bernal just pulled over there, coming into that corner, Thomas takes it up immediately and starts to set the pace here. And we're getting ever so close to the finish, but still on a climb like this, it's early days, but they have no choice here, I think, just to keep the pace going. And yes, it's an interesting one. It's the yellow jersey who is having to pull this group of what's less of the favourites along.
Well, the booing's not welcome, I'm sure. This performance from Romain Bardet certainly is. 36 seconds from Kruijswijk, but Thomas is closing the gap again. Moves to the right in the yellow jersey. Froome is behind him in the white. In the red, it's Vincenzo Nibali. You can see in the black and yellow, Primož Roglic. In the black and white, you can see Tom Dumoulin. And this is Steven Kruijswijk. 4.2 kilometres to go. Sean, I think it's safe to say that unless there's some serious looking around, it isn't going to happen for the Dutchman today.
No, it doesn't look like now. It's coming down very, very quickly. And when you look 4.1 kilometres to go with what's happening further down the climb here, I don't think Kruijswijk just have enough of an advantage, enough of power to hold on there.
Romain Bardet 29 seconds behind Steven Kruijswijk, who has led this race for a long, long time. 60 plus kilometres, in fact. Just 10 seconds behind him is the yellow jersey group, and we can hear on race radio that behind the yellow jersey group they're getting very angry about too many police motorbikes, perhaps helping them pull back. There's a lot of screaming going on. And you can see behind Romain Bardet, and look at this now. Dumoulin behind. I wonder what happened there. I hope there was no incident, because Dumoulin just had to close the gap. Nibali is no longer in this group, and you can see it's Chris Froome who's attacked. Nibali's down. Nibali is down, and that is not what we wanted to see. Something has happened with the spectators there. Chris Froome has attacked as the gap has opened. That is not what we wanted to see on Alpe d'Huez. In the meantime, this is the situation on the road, and Sky are going to take advantage. Chris Froome launches his attack. It's Bardet who can follow. Dumoulin's behind him. Geraint Thomas in the yellow jersey, and Froome's riding away now. Chris Froome is riding away with just over 4 kilometres to go for him. 32 seconds behind. We wait to see what's happened to Vincenzo Nibali, but it looks as though something untoward might have happened, Sean.
Well, we could see that Nibali definitely went down, and also the other riders were slowed up a bit. We could see Dumoulin there. He had to come around some riders. Was it that it was just, a little tightening up on the road, and the riders had to slow a bit and just, banged off each other, and down Nibali went. But certainly, it affected all the riders. It knocked them out of their rhythm a bit.
We wait to find out with full certainty what might have happened. There's been plenty of screaming behind about motorbikes in the gap. We saw crowds getting very close. We're into the barrier section now. And Chris Froome has Steven Kruijswijk in his sights. Is it going to be that for a second successive day in the Alps, we're going to see a masterpiece from Team Sky? Oh, there. It's done. That is it. Kruijswijk knows he's about to be caught, and whatever happens, Sean, I think it's time to take your hat off to that man. Courage, and what a performance from Steven Kruijswijk.
Yes, well, it was a huge ride from Kruijswijk, but in the earlier part of the day, you'd always question it. Was it a bit too early? Was it too much to take on? And now we have the answer. Not on your own. It's really difficult when you have a lot of teams riding behind, and we can see here, Chris Froome has, just went on ahead, but Tom Dumoulin is setting the pace here with Geraint Thomas just following in his slipstream.
Chris Froome away, but Tom Dumoulin looks to be closing the gap. Tom Dumoulin with Geraint Thomas and Romain Bardet. Kruijswijk trying to hold in. Radio's in. Remember, Primož Roglic not to be seen in this shot. Behind is Mikel Landa, who was about 50 metres behind the last time we looked. So what does Tom Dumoulin have in his locker? To me, he's looking fairly good here. And you wonder what's happening with Chris Froome. 3.2 kilometres to go. This is a fascinating day's bike racing. And still, with 3Ks to go, so much still to happen. No sign of Roglic. And we have no reports of what might have happened to Vincenzo Nibali, but it did not look good, I'm afraid. There's Mikel Landa in the blue. And Chris Froome is about to be caught. So this is a brilliant performance from Tom Dumoulin. There might be Dutch glory yet. Landa in the meantime on the right-hand side. Oh, he looks in trouble. Nibali back on his bike. And that's good news for the race. Nibali back on his bike. And for one moment, Sean, it did not look good at all. He looked in agony.
Well, he looked at, taking a heavy fall and looked to be in pain for a moment, but back on his bike is good to see. We just did not see exactly what went happen there, but Roglic as well, he was very much in that group. He disappeared also after that crash, so, were the other riders involved in the crash, but it definitely did make the riders slow down a bit.
So Froome is caught. Bardet thinks about going again, and Bardet is going to go again. Romain Bardet has something else to give. Wheels over to the right. Just 4 riders left in this group. Romain Bardet, Chris Froome, Tom Dumoulin, Geraint Thomas. There's still so much road to be ridden. Getting to the easier part of the climb in the last 2Ks. Romain Bardet, Chris Froome, Tom Dumoulin, Geraint Thomas. Next on the road is Mikel Landa. Vincenzo Nibali is somewhere behind. Primož Roglic is somewhere with him. And a minute back, we're hearing Nairo Quintana. A little bit of a conversation there between Geraint Thomas and Tom Dumoulin. Primož Roglic just ahead of Vincenzo Nibali. And we wait to see what's going to happen. Well, good news for Movistar and Spanish and Basque fans. Mikel Landa is back on. Sean, are we seeing tactical looking around or 5 exhausted riders? Well, we've got another answer. 3 times Bardet can go. And he's trying to crack them. Remember, the last 3 winners here have been French. Bardet this time pulls out a bit of a gap and it's down to Chris Froome to chase. The Tour de France providing so much entertainment. Well, that does for Landa for the moment. But he's already made his way back once. Nibali has made it up to Roglic in the meantime, who has Kruijswijk up in front of him. They'll be hoping that there's a lot more looking around at the front. It's Froome who is trying to chase here. Dumoulin behind him, and at the bottom in the yellow jersey, Geraint Thomas. What's your take on this shot?
Well, we could see there was just the 4 of them across the road and nobody wanted, to make the pace setting, and of course Bardet, he decided to just put in a big attack here, and it's Froome was trying to get back to him. And we did see Landa, he was just getting on the rear there, but then the attack of Bardet put him into difficulty again. Also Nibali and Roglic having a bit of difficulty getting on.
Is Dumoulin to attack for the first time? Tom Dumoulin feeling good enough to give it a go himself. The Dutch flags wave behind him on the Dutch mountain, and Tom Dumoulin is distancing Chris Froome. Tom Dumoulin distancing Chris Froome. Geraint Thomas can hold the wheel. Bardet at the moment is on Froome's wheel. And are we about to see a passing of the baton? It's so hard to call this because we know how Froome rides, Sean. We know he can be distanced, and already he starts to make his way back. But we did see with that first attack, Chris Froome of a few years ago might have carried that through and destroyed everybody.
Yes, it's certainly a little bit different from some years ago, but we can see Froome here. He does, at times he looks like he's in difficulty, loses a lot of ground very quickly, and then gets back into the rhythm again, and he seems to be doing the same here, just walking away. But Tom Dumoulin is not pushing on. Geraint Thomas, very impressive there. That attack from Dumoulin, he was able to match it pretty comfortably.
We're hearing 35 seconds for Vincenzo Nibali. 35 seconds back down the mountain for the man who was off his bike, and we are yet to find out why. Riders zip up their jerseys as they get onto the easier section here. Now, who's this going to benefit?
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. It all depends, how much you have left in the tank here. But Geraint Thomas looking impressive, but Bardet as well in this uphill finish. He can be a danger one. But Tom Dumoulin, that attack there was a big one, because we did see it put Froome in difficulty for a little moment.
Steven Kruijswijk battling on. Race car right past him. This is Nairo Quintana. The last count was over a minute behind. The front of the race enters the final 1.5 kilometres. Well, with the second group on the road, Vincenzo Nibali at 53 seconds now. 53 seconds from Nibali. And somewhere in the middle is Mikel Landa. Nibali with Roglic, by the way. Quintana and Fuglsang together at 1:02. So 1.4 kilometres to go. Remember, as yesterday, 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds available on the line. At the minute, it's looking pretty good, Sean, for Geraint Thomas, whatever happens to keep the yellow jersey.
Yes, well, it's looking very good, and it's going to be an interesting one. Bardet, you can see he's just waiting. He's the one in general classification, just under 3 minutes down, where Dumoulin, Geraint Thomas and Froome, they're, very much up in the top of the classification. So I think he will try. He might not be as marked as much as they would. Tom Dumoulin, of course, as well. Dumoulin is, the time trialist, where Bardet, they're going to be thinking about that. They can allow a little bit of time to Bardet, so it might be an opportunity for him to just take an attack, and a little bit of hesitation from the 3 others.
Nibali and Roglic are going to be hoping there is more hesitation. Mikel Landa is thankful for it, and this is such a combative ride from Mikel Landa as they go under the Flamme Rouge. 1 kilometre to go up to the 30th ascension of this legendary mountain. Alpe d'Huez is about to see a brand new winner, but who is it going to be? There are 5 riders in with a good shout, as Nibali and Roglic can now see them up the road. So many twists and turns, many more than the 21 hairpins we've seen. And there's room for more drama yet. 5 riders at the front, being led by Tom Dumoulin, the winner of the Giro d'Italia just over a year ago. Chris Froome's in there. Geraint Thomas, the current leader of the Tour de France, alongside Mikel Landa and Romain Bardet, who will be hoping to make it 4 French wins in a row. We're just seeing Nairo Quintana there. He's being dropped by Jakob Fuglsang.
Yes, but he hasn't lost a huge amount of time. We did hear about a minute, so
Mikel Landa, pardon me, Sean, because Mikel Landa launches an attack. And in terms of fastest guys to the line, if he has something here, Mikel Landa is a good finisher. He's being followed by Geraint Thomas. Chris Froome just about on the wheel. 500 metres to go. 3rd place, Froome. 4th place, Bardet in the brown, blue and white. And at the back in the black and white, it's Tom Dumoulin, the Dutchman. It is all up for grabs. Not too much of a change on GC between these 5. They are the selected few who are going to go on to another set of mountains. Many making losses, but as they turn for the final time, it's Geraint Thomas on the left-hand side going for it. Geraint Thomas in the yellow jersey. He picked up his first mountain stage yesterday, and Geraint Thomas is going to win in the yellow jersey. Geraint Thomas to do it again. He's been through Cumbry Corner. The Welsh are cheering, and in the yellow jersey, it is Geraint Thomas of Team Sky to win on Alpe d'Huez and extend his lead in the Tour de France. A crash for Vincenzo Nibali, problems for Primož Roglic, but they limit the loss to only 15 seconds. Fuglsang further down the road, and the clock continues to tell. But I tell you what, we've seen some things today. We've seen Geraint Thomas proving any doubters wrong. He is here to try and win the Tour de France. Nairo Quintana has lost quite a bit of time. We've also seen Chris Froome attacking and not being able to carry it through to the end. So much to pick over the next 24 hours as Quintana loses 46 seconds. Behind him, Steven Kruijswijk, hero of the day. A courageous ride and yet more wonderful history to add to the long roll of honour. First it was Fastel Coppi. In 2018, Sean Kelly, it is Geraint Thomas in the yellow jersey.
Yes, well, we could say he was very impressive. And, you know, anybody put in a big attack, notably Tom Dumoulin. Geraint Thomas was immediately his wheel. When Landa tried it, he was immediately the wheel. The other riders, we could see Dumoulin, Froome lost maybe 2 bike lengths, and we could see Geraint Thomas into the final corner just taking it up and proving that he was the strongest. Quintana coming over there, you know, 46 seconds. It looked like he could have lost 2 minutes plus there, but of course a lot of rivalry in the last number of kilometres between the big favourites.
And all set up by the youngest rider in the race. A word for Egan Bernal.
What a performance, and we can see here coming in 140 down, you know, still after that effort, and Dan Martin just a little bit behind there, 145. Again, you know, when he lost that time, Dan Martin, it looked like he could lose a huge amount, because on this finish to the Alpe, when you do crack, you know, 7-8 kilometres to finish, it can be 3-4 minutes very quickly.
We wait to find out what happened with Vincenzo Nibali. He limited the losses. The headline on the day, Geraint Thomas, after 5 hours 18 minutes of terrific racing, is the king of Alpe d'Huez and leads the Tour de France. The Alps have been spectacular. 3 days of top racing, and we have quite a few conclusions already to take. But there's a week and a half left to Paris. We'll see you tomorrow as we go back to the flat.
And it's another victory for Team Sky. It's another victory for Geraint Thomas. It is a victory in yellow as well. What a day. Up the Alpe d'Huez. But the action started a little bit earlier. 73 kilometers to go. That's when Steven Kruijswijk decided to set off on his own out of a break that had originally existed of 26 riders. The Alps certainly took its toll on the day. A number of abandonments. Dylan Groenewegen going home. André Greipel going home. And Fernando Gaviria going home as well. The sprinters have been culled. On the final ascent, it didn't all go well. We still don't know why Vincenzo Nibali went down. We think that he might have struck one of the fans, but that certainly upset his chances. Romain Bardet was one of a number of GC competitors to lead the charge in the final few kilometres of the climb up the legendary Alpe. But there was a response. Tom Dumoulin coming to the front. Mikel Landa then led the main competitors out, but it was Geraint Thomas who showed the greatest acceleration to pull away and score victory for the second stage in a row.